What's going on, everybody? This is MDENT313, and I'm back at y'all with another one. Listen, man, I just seen an unfortunate story, and listen, I don't agree with fighters doing this, right? I just seen that Frank Martin has allegedly left head trainer Derrick James. Now, listen, if you're a younger fighter and you still have time to grow and develop, learn new things or whatever, I get it. I understand that. But in my opinion, when you are a seasoned fighter, I don't think you should leave your head trainer. I think maybe you can add some trainers to certain camps to help you with certain things. But what pissed me off about these fighters, let's give these fighters the benefit of the doubt, right? Let's just say hypothetically you have a bad trainer, but your athleticism and whatever skills you picked up from wherever, you were able to, it was enough to get you by. It was enough to get you in, championship contention, contender contention, or whatever, right? But as long as you're winning, you keep your head coach. But when you finally lose, you want to throw your head coach under the bus. Now, if you knew that you wasn't really learning nothing from that head coach, you should have came to him prior to you losing and said, hey, listen, this ain't working out. I think we need to add somebody to the camp, or I need to go my own separate ways. We need to go our own separate ways. Now, on the flip side, let's say your head coach is a phenomenal head coach, and he's teaching you wonderful things, and he brought you up from A to B, or he may have taken you on, once you became a professional. And everything's going good, and then you finally lose a fight, and you want to get rid of him. This is what bothers me, right? You're not, most athletes, most sports, but we're just gonna talk about boxing. Most fighters are not going to finish their careers undefeated. It's statistically just about impossible. Every once in a while, you'll have a Floyd Mayweather, a Rocky Marciano. I forgot that guy, but he had a lot of fights and he ended up being undefeated. Andre Ward. Those fighters are extremely rare, which is why out of the thousands of fighters who ever box professionally, you can only really name 4, maybe 5 fighters throughout the entire history of the sport to finish undefeated, right? Reason being is nobody's perfect, right? You got to factor in everybody have different attributes. What are your attributes? Height, arm length, athleticism, foot speed, natural punching power, hand speed, coordination, rhythm, chin, durability, stamina, right? Those are pretty much your pretty much like your natural abilities, right? Or your natural gifts, your natural talent, right? And then you have styles, right? And when you're talking about styles, you're talking about, are you an offensive, well, how can I put it? Are you a boxer? Are you a brawler? Are you a boxer puncher? Are you good more so fighting on the outside? Are you more so good at fighting on the inside? Are you more so good at fighting mid-range? Are you more of a counter puncher? Are you more of a sniper? Now, some of these things can be intertwined, right? When you got a certain style in conjunction with whatever attributes you have, right? It's very rare that you're going to have a fighter who have every single attribute, right? And that's not including any other things that may happen. You may have a bad camp where you get injured, right? But you still push through with the fight. you may have an off night. You may have a hard time cutting weight. You get what I'm saying? You may have a hard time fighting southpaw fighters, orthodox fighters. I mean, everybody have some type of limitation to them, right? Everybody has pros, everybody has some type of cons. And the trick to it is being able to capitalize off, is finding that person's flaws and being able to take advantage of it while simultaneously hiding your flaws and keeping them from taking advantage of your flaws. If you fight the right fighters, when you're supposed to fight the right fighters, most fighters are going to eventually lose. Now, this not even including age, experience, natural wear and tear, inexperience. It's so many different factors that factor into these things, right? But I feel bad for these head coaches and these boxing trainers, because you already getting paid way less than the fighters, because the fighters are who the fans come to see. And as long as the fighter is winning, the fighter gets all the credit. But the moment that the fighter loses, the head coach get all the blame, right? So instead of most fighters, right, or especially with today's fighters, instead of today's fighters saying, you know what, that fighter was the better fighter, me and my coach that I came up with, me and my head coach who, you know, brought me this far, we need to both go back to the drawing board, and we both need to tighten up. But I don't like the fact that as soon as things go wrong, the fighter never takes accountability and they just throw their head trainer under the bus. So it took for you to lose a fight to decide, you know what, I haven't learned nothing from this trainer, even though said trainer brought me up from, you know, from the mud to the Olympics, you know, to the beginning stages of my career, to number one contender, to world champion, to a big name, and all of a sudden, this trainer, he's no good anymore. I remember when Tim Bradley did this to head coach Joe Diaz. I mean, just threw the man under the bus. And regardless of what you want to say, Tim Bradley wasn't the same fighter he was when he left Joe Diaz. Very rarely do you have a Lennox Lewis situation where when he leave his trainer and go to a new trainer like Emmanuel Stewart, he actually becomes a better fighter. Because as the old saying goes, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You probably can make slight tweaks and slight adjustments, but you can't make him a brand new fighter. One of my favorite fighters who's fighting today in Deontay Wilder, we're seeing that with his new head trainer, Malik Scott. Since he's got with Malik Scott, he's only had one win, and he don't look nowhere near the same fighter as he was when he was with Mark Breland. Could that be other things? Could that be wear and tear from the Tyson Fury trilogies? Yeah, possibly. Could that be that he just made so much money that his heart isn't in the sport no more? Yeah, possibly. But what I find most often the times in boxing, usually when that fighter leave their coach that brought them thus far, very rarely do they ever become better fighters. Very, very rarely. One of the more recent situations to where I've seen a guy go over to another head coach and become at least a little bit better was Robert Garcia when he picked up Marcos Maidana But that's because he didn't overhaul Marcus Maidana's style. He just added little subtle things like helped him perfect his jab better. So I want you to think of this, right? Before we leave this video, I want you to imagine this, right? You see a young man, right? Or a kid. We'll say a kid. And his mother or his father, whoever, bring him into the boxing gym. You work with this kid, we'll just say from the ages 7 all the way till he's 28, 29, 30. You bring him along this far, he becomes a millionaire, he becomes extremely successful, he's riding high, you riding high, and the first time he lose, bam, you gone. The first time you lose. So that means that as a head coach, you have to be perfect. You can't make any mistakes. You can't have any hang-ups. You can't have any flaws, because at the first sign of trouble, that young man that you brought thus far is going to throw you under the bus and get rid of you like you ain't ever did shit for him. Unbelievable. Listen, Earl Spence, he's also one of my favorite fighters. But Frank Martin and Earl Spence, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves for how y'all doing Derrick James. And that's all I got. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe.